All guests on ZASLOW Show 2.0 are brought to us by the official beer of the program. You know, we're talking Johnny Cuba, European roots, a Caribbean soul. Enjoy a refreshing German lager in a can. You go to johnnycuba.us. You find the nearest location to you. How else are we going to enjoy the Royal Rumble in the ZASLOW Mansion with an ice-cold Johnny Cuba in my hand? That's right. Make sure you always drink responsibly. And don't forget Johnny Cuba's mantra, stay tranquilo. Our pal, of course, good to see the coach.
Let's go.
Jonathan Coachman off the ropes on SiriusXM Pro Wrestling Nation 24/7, channel 156. You got Coach and company all over the place. How is the show going on Pro Wrestling Nation 24/7? Let me also preface this with, it was not too long ago when I first became friends with Coach. We're talking over 10 years ago. Yep. This was at a time where you were completely out of the game. You were like, I'm done with the wrestling. I'm not doing it anymore. And now you're 5 days a week talking pro wrestling on the biggest pro wrestling channel there is in the world.
Zazzle, I can't believe it. I really can't. I was always honest with you when I would come on your show in Miami because I never thought I wanted to get back into it. But I also never thought that they would have a full-blown network, which they've been talking about for years and years. It's an honor to have my own show. It's absolutely a blast to be back in and talk about not just WWE, but all of the different organizations. And then I just started a role on JCW to help out my buddy Vince Russo because our Coach and Bro show has just been growing like crazy. So it is true. And I would be foolish to not embrace because that's now a big part of my income. And I would have been dumb not to embrace it. I'm having a ball.
Do you look at what ESPN is doing? Obviously, you know, Royal Rumble tomorrow is on ESPN. Yeah. WWE has the huge partnership now with ESPN every single day. I mean, this week on their studio shows, they've had Cody Rhodes and Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman. Yeah. Do you look back and go, oh my God, I was telling you guys this years ago. This is what I wanted to do.
Well, yes and no. We pushed and pushed and pushed, probably almost to my detriment, if I'm being honest with you, Zaz, on my like real day job, as I used to call it. But now, because of what they allowed us to do, remember, we took 2, maybe 3 years of Sports Center we took to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And so we kind of started it. So it's not even so much that it's kind of validation that, because when I first started my first 2 years, very difficult simply because I came from wrestling, not because of my talent or anything. So that's hard when somebody tells you, well, we don't care. It's just because of where you came from. But now to see people not going that way, but you're seeing the Joe Tessitors and the Pat McAfees going that way, it's very validating to me, if nothing else.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. I love seeing these guys on the
Me too.
On the ESPN program. You know what it's always like? You know, I equate it to, and it was like this when I was younger too. Whenever you would see a WWE superstar, whenever you see them make an appearance on another television show, when they're out of their element, when they're not in a WWE ring, it's always, to me, it's like when you were a kid and you're in the supermarket and you run into your teacher. It's like,
yes.
What the fuck are you doing? You know, like what is going on right now? That's how I feel when I see these guys.
Well, it's funny you say that because that's also how it comes off when guys like Greeny or anybody else try to interview them.
Yeah.
And Stephen A. And I love all these guys. I did Mike and Mike 60 freaking times in my career, but I knew that this would happen, Zaz. Because you got to understand, a lot of these guys don't watch wrestling. So when you walk in the studio and you're telling Greeny, hey, Greeny, you're going to have Seth Rollins on today, I promise you, Greeny does not know who Seth Rollins is. He knows Triple H now because they've had him on for a few times. So the one I laughed at the most was Chris Fowler, who's a legend. And the first night that they were promoting WrestlePalooza, and he says, do not miss the WWE and John Cena. And I was like, whoa, we've really arrived. And he called him Cena twice.
Wow.
Yeah. So I just laughed. It's not necessarily their fault, but they're all going to have to embrace it. This is a 5-year deal. And so I promise you there's a lot of people there that don't want to have it on their shows because they didn't want me to be a part of their shows, but they need to embrace it because it's a lot of money they're paying the WWE.
I'll tell you, we mentioned Seth Rollins there. Seth Rollins, 1,000% has a career in sports media when he's on wrestling.
he's doing what a lot of guys did back when I was there. I kind of became the guy. I love to help, as you know. I love to coach. There's a lot of people now in this day and age where they think they're media stars or announcers, but they have no clue at the level you're at, the level that I'm at. So I used to help a lot of athletes that would come in. Seth is doing exactly what you do. He is, moving into middle age. He doesn't want to wrestle for another 10 years, but you're getting that career started before your in-ring career is over.
And he's good at it.
And he's really good at it. And he knows football. He knows football. I want him to stay in that lane. But the fact that he is also saying yes to everything. He's got deals in place, sure. But when you're calling, because I was there, this happened all the time. Hey, would you like to do this? Would you like to do that? So then, Zaz, what happens is you become the guy that they come to all the time because you're willing to do it. And that's a big deal. Miz was this way too. Say yes to everything. That was our moniker.
Yeah, I actually, it's funny you say that. I spoke to Miz about that recently because we had him on set with us a couple weeks ago at the national championship in Miami. He came and he stopped by with me and Amber Wilson. And I said that's one of the things that I admire about him, where it's something that I do as well, where even still today, I treat everything like it's a test. If somebody asks me to do something, I say yes. Everything is a test. So I have to continue to say yes to everything. And I told that to Miz. I said, I feel like that's you. You're like, ask me, I will go do all the appearances.
Here's what people need to understand, especially in this day and age where a lot of shows or networks are moving away from studio shows. They're super, super expensive. And they're leaning into what can we facilitate to make it easier and affordable. And so you never know, Zaz, when somebody's going to knock on your door and say, listen, I got this over here. Miz is going to be doing, the fighting show. How would the fighting show know how good Miz is and how charismatic he is and how he's able to bounce things off and talk about any topic if he didn't do all of that stuff? So my point is, for young kids watching or anybody that's not even young, if you want to get into this business and you want to have the door, somebody knock on it, you got to go above and beyond, Zaz, because you never know where it's going to come from. Look at your last 3 years. Look at my last 3 years. Could we have ever have predicted you and I'd be sitting here doing ZASLOW 2.0? No. Yeah. You just never know.
Let's talk about the event tomorrow. Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia. It's at 2 p.m. Eastern time. I don't watch Royal Rumble in the afternoon. I'm avoiding all spoilers. I'm watching it at 8 p.m. All right. That's when me and my boy, we're going to sit down on the couch and we're going to bang out Royal Rumble. I don't watch Royal Rumble when it's daytime out. All right. So nobody texts me, no spoilers. I am incommunicado the entire afternoon. I'm watching it tomorrow night. But let's talk about what's going on here. The men's Royal Rumble. I think there's a bunch of different candidates who can win it. I don't necessarily remember a year, Coach, going into the Royal Rumble with so many, really not having an idea of what they're going to do. And I think that could wind up being a good thing.
I think it could be a great thing. A couple of things. You just made me remember when we had a WWE appearance, Limp Bizkit and Creed years ago, and Limp Bizkit said, "We don't go on before the sun goes down." That's right. They got into a big fight with Creed. I was actually in the room. So that's how I feel about pay-per-views too, or PLEs, whatever you want to call them. I'm with you. This whole nonsense, but hey, hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank. But to your point, the only thing I don't like about it, Zaz, is because I was in 2 Royal Rumbles myself. And I like storylines that you can take into the match that then you can be creative in how those play out within the match, if that makes sense. And I feel like they've really just put in all their big stars. Yes, everybody's in it. All the Vision, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes. We now found out that Brock Lesnar through the Pat McAfee show, The Miz. And I found that a little funny that Finn Balor, there were no spots for him on Monday, but apparently on Tuesday there was a spot for Brock. And there was a spot for Miz because they were announcing it on ESPN. So it's funny how one hand doesn't talk to the other. But as far as star power, there is no question. And I foresee that the final 4 or 5, you know how there's always that mix-up where guys get eliminated and then the 5 turn around and stare at each other. And I feel like we need 4 OGs, and then you need one of the young stars, whether it's Braun Breaker, whether it's one of the NXT guys, Obafemi perhaps. But I think they need to do a good mix between the young and the old, because we got to start, Zaz, getting these young guys over. you can't keep having a 46-year-old champion and then he loses to a 44-year-old guy. Then you know what I mean? We need to start building up these young cats too.
What surprise entrance are you thinking we could wind up seeing?
All right, so I've had I have a lot of connections around, and I get a lot of inside information. I've been very, very standing on business as far as Chris Jericho is concerned. I was the only one that said he wasn't going to be at Raw 3 weeks ago. All the dirt sheets say he was.
That's right.
I was the only one, and I was correct. I also predicted the tour. He came out right after and said the tour. I think Jericho. The only part is how do you sneak all these guys into a country? It's not like in the United States. You know, it's. In the United States, you can fly them in a different city, drive 2 hours, whatever. I've heard that Mr. Beast and I Show Speed are in Qatar for a charity football game. I Show Speed has, you know, I don't know if you saw any of his recent reality show with Randy Orton. This dude has skills. And you remember last year, they just threw him in. He ran down and breaker. I call it the splitter, and just tattooed I Show Speed. I think those two are going to show up. I've seen Mr. Iguana in the background of a couple of pictures.
Okay.
I just pray, Zaz, I pray that for the fourth big event in a row, Triple H has said, load of surprises, ton of surprises. And the last three, Survivor Series, nothing. Right. Netflix, nothing. There hasn't been anything. So don't say it unless you're going to deliver.
Who do you think is going to win?
I also have been told that Cody and Roman, they have not moved off of that. So if that's the case, one of those two has to win. And I think it's going to be Roman, because I think they want to reestablish Roman. The only problem I have, Zaz, and I know you probably talked about this many times, and I get in arguments with guys I work with at Sirius, is that Brock, Roman, these are attractions, and they only show up every 3 or 4 months. Zaz, I'll ask you, how do you build a big match, especially if it's the main event at WrestleMania, if these guys aren't on the show more than once every couple of months?
Well, and you have to keep in mind that WrestleMania we're talking mid-April.
Yeah.
So you got to go 2.5 months with this story. So it almost lends credence to the idea that Roman will win, because you can easily take him off TV for 5 weeks, you know, like he normally does. So you're not even beholden to keeping the wrestlers away from each other for 2.5 months. So it almost makes sense for Roman to win, where you could then just, you know, speed up the storyline. He returns in a month and then you get right after it. So that makes a little bit of sense to me. The women's Royal Rumble match, for me, I hope and I think we're finally going to get Liv Morgan to win it. That makes all the sense in the world. I think Liv Morgan is on the verge of being super, super, super hot. I could see her winning the women's Royal Rumble.
I agree with you. I hope not just female, every star looks at how she came back from injury. She came back better. She came back looking better. She came back in better shape. She absolutely has elevated herself to the top of the female division across the board. Here's what I'm really wondering, because remember when this deal started, I was actually back for a cup of coffee, and I was in the room when they announced this big deal with Saudi Arabia, which is now grown. And women weren't even allowed even on the card.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they make it a big deal. So Zaz, I'm wondering, are all 30 women going to have to be dressed in a certain way? Is it going to be covered?
Definitely. Yeah.
So all 30 had to go make special new ring gear just for this night.
Yeah.
And maybe it doesn't bother them. I don't know. But I know I saw the announcement for WrestleMania, and all those women had to be told what, like Bianca, when she was reading her, it was like, and I was like, you know, I don't know how I would feel if I was a female and they want me to say, we're changing things. It's a nice thought. I hope it's happening. And I can't wait to see how they treat 30 women on the show when 7 years ago it was 0. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
That's a good point. Like I said, I think Liv is the one that makes the most sense for the women there. Any surprises you think we can get on the women's side?
They normally don't do surprises on the women's side, because if you're going to bring in a celebrity, most female celebrities want no part of this. Here's what I do want. For the first time in a long time, you have several several taller, bigger girls. Normally it's like Nia Jax and everybody else. So I would love to see Nia, Lash Legend, Raquel. Raquel to me is on the brink of superstardom.
I think she's a dark horse pick. I do.
Absolutely. Because now you have something to build with her. You have a story with her. You know, Kevin Nash telling her, work like a big person. And she has embraced that. And look what's happened. So I would love to see those three with Liv and figure out how does Liv fight from underneath and get all of them eliminated and stand tall at the end.
Let's talk about Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn. I know some people believe that Sami Zayn can, that he's going to eventually win the title. I don't see him taking the title off of him at Royal Rumble. I think Drew goes into WrestleMania as the champion. I can't possibly see Sami then fighting Drew McIntyre at Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. What do you make of that match?
I get so frustrated when I think about Sami Zayn because to me, Drew McIntyre embodies everything that is not only a heel, but a superstar in the WWE. He recently called out the entire locker room for not understanding that when people watch them, they look for superstars. They're looking at Superman. They're looking at Batman. They're looking at people not like themselves. So Zaz, when I see Sami Zayn and somebody says, yeah, he's going to be the next guy, I'm like, really? 3 weeks ago, they put him in the ring with Trick Williams. Trick looked like a star. He looks like somebody out of Rocky. And Sammy literally wore, I guarantee you, the same clothes that he got out of bed in that morning. To me, I'm done with this whole blue-collar lunch pail type of thing. They're booking for the pop with him. They did it last week in Montreal, which is where he's from. Mm-hmm. And then he's got, his culture is Saudi Arabia. And to me, if you're going to book him because of where they're at, then do that with John Cena too. To me, there's no world that Sami Zayn should even be fighting for a WWE championship or a World Heavyweight Championship. I don't see that when I look at him.
AJ Styles and Gunther, which is going to be very, very dramatic. Is this the end for AJ Styles this weekend?
It almost has to be. They backed themselves into a corner, which is unfortunate because I feel like we missed out. We've got some really good matches from him. Him and Shinsuke was awesome. Him and John Cena was awesome. I think I was just kind of in an argument with Bully Ray about this, that a lot of people look at Gunther as like a slow build and a slow burn. And, he's going to be slowly extracting, all of this energy out of every single career. I would have liked for them to use that win over Cena a little bit more. Also, it's rare that you have a match that was a main event on Raw and 3 weeks later it's now part of a PLE. And just all you changed was the stipulation of the career. I feel like they've really fumbled what they could have made with Gunther. I've never understood the Gunther love from creative, that the predictability, Zaz, is infuriating. He never loses. So if he never loses, then all these matches, we're only talking about it from one side. And that, to me, is not what PLE matches should be all about.
Is Gunther also in the Rumble?
Yes. He's going to be competing twice.
I thought so, too. Because I thought that he declared for it before AJ challenged him. So hear me out here. Everybody is saying how, Gunther has to win. Gunther cannot lose to AJ Styles. I think AJ is going to win. I think AJ is going to win, and Gunther gets his heat back by winning the Royal Rumble. Like, if he wins the Royal Rumble and then he gets to main event WrestleMania, who gives a shit that he just lost to AJ Styles? If he's in the Rumble, which I think he is, I think earlier in the night, we're going to get AJ versus Gunther. AJ wins. The crowd loves it. It's a big shock. And Gunther gets all the heat back by winning the Royal Rumble.
Man, I had never even thought about it like that. A, I love it. B, they won't do it. Because for some reason, they have these blinders on when it comes to Gunther. They really do. They don't want to see him lose. Now, could Brock come out during that match and throw a wrench into the works to where something else or someone else is the reason Gunther loses? I would hate that because I think AJ Styles is good enough to beat him. But I guarantee you, as in that room, they're saying, well, if we beat him clean, then what does that do for Gunther for the rest of the year? When in actuality, how you played it out or laid it out would be amazing. He's pissed off. He lost to an all-time great. There's no shame in that game. None. And Triple H and the creative, they need to understand that. If somebody never loses, then there's never any peril. I love what you just said, other than him winning the Royal Rumble, but I think it'd be exciting. So I'm all for the storylines. You give me that, I'm not going to complain.
Do you have an all-time favorite Royal Rumble moment?
Well, I mean, to me, when there was a screwed up finish, because I was there for it, watching Vince get pissed at anything was always kind of comical, especially if he wasn't directed at me. But when Batista and them messed up, because anytime, and this is the fun part about being in the room, and I say this tongue in cheek, but if you want like a really good episode of Unreal, take a camera into the room when they're laying out the Royal Rumble match itself. It's amazing. It's amazing how Michael Hayes and them Pat Patterson used to put it together. But Vince getting pissed, because when you lay out the finish, you want it to be exciting, right? Mm-hmm. And so they did that, but you're also throwing in, and you got to have that plan B on what happens if they slip with the rope, and anytime somebody's got them over and they catch themselves. So that was my all-time favorite. I am kind of proud. I stayed 37 minutes in one of the Rumbles that I was in, but then people point out that I spent most of it holding on to the bottom rope, laying over in the corner. But I did take 37 chops in one.
Who eliminated you?
It takes Hall of Famers, Zaz. Ric Flair eliminated me in one, and the Big Show eliminated me in the other. So you just can't eliminate the coach with just anybody. Come on, let's be honest.
That's good stuff. Coach, tell everybody how they can hear everything you got going on.
Man, we're so busy, and I appreciate you allowing me to do that every single day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We're going to be having some changes very soon, but Coaching Company is daily, weekdays. We have Coach and Bro, which is me and Vince Russo. It's been amazing. That's growing. That's 2 days a week, Monday and Thursdays. Then, of course, my daily show on SiriusXM, channel 156. Pro Wrestling Nation 24/7. It's been awesome to have a 24-hour network dedicated to pro wrestling. Yeah. It's growing like crazy, and that's every single day, 2 to 4 Eastern time.
Great job, Coach. Appreciate you, man. Enjoy the Rumble this weekend. It's going to be great.
You too. Enjoy it with the kids. Love coming on with you. Love chopping it up. We'll see you soon.